Hello and welcome to my video. Today's video is going to be the first part of a bow build-along series I want to make, and this one's going to be about laying out the bow. So this is just a board I had lying in my garage here. It's a piece of red oak, and this particular board is not going to be very good for a bow because the grain isn't straight. So if you want to pick out a straight grain board, hardware store works fine. Usually you can get red oak, birch, or maple at a hardware store. If you can pick up the wood or the board and look from one end to the other, and you can follow the same grain line all the way down to full length, go for it. Try that. And board bows are a good place to start. Easy to get. The boards are easy to get. They already come flat, so you don't have to worry about sanding off the top or anything like that. Very easy to do, easy to remove wood, but that'll be the next video. Okay, so we'll get right at it. So we'll measure the full length of the board. I think this one is 6 feet. Oh yeah, dead on. Make everything perfect for me. Make it easy. So we'll mark the center of the board. Now we want our handle to be 4 inches long. That's a standard handle. Right, where you place your hand. 4 inches is good enough. So I'm going to go 1.5 inches up from that center and 2.5 down, and that will be where our handle lays. So we'll quickly mark that out. You can make your handle 5 inches. You know, if you've got hands like a gorilla, you know, you might need that extra little bit there. But most people are good with the 4-inch handle. So from the top and the bottom part of where we had laid out for the handle, we'll go up 2 inches, and this will be your fades. So this will be the difference, or from the thickness of the handle down to the working part of the bow, which are the limbs, where it thins out and do all the working part, all the throwing of the arrow. Our handle is stationary. For this design it is. So this is one I made a while ago. So this is what I mean by fades. The transition from the thickness of the handle here down to the working part of the limb. Right? So if you look, the handle doesn't bend. The rest of it does. So I got those marked out like that. Now quickly I'll just bring those lines down to the side. And you'll see this later on in the video why I'm doing this, just to be on the safe side. So we only got to mark out the fades, the top, and the bottom of the handle. Now you're probably looking around with everything here. I got everything in this garage from a baby's fart to a clap of thunder. It's all useful. So now that part's done, we'll mark out the middle of the board. We're on a chalk line, so we'll go to the end here. Luckily, again, easy measurement. This is 2 inches wide. So it's a good idea to find the center. You can have a piece of board that's a little bit off. You can work around it. As long as your grain is straight, you'll be good. So throw a chalk line on. Mark that quickly. There. So this center line coming in, we're marking out the width of the bow. So while I'm here, we'll mark out the limb tips. So the tips are where the string is going to be, obviously. There's going to be the thinnest part at the tip, and it's going to taper out a little bit. So I like to make my tips around 1/2 inch wide. You don't have to go 1/2 inch wide. You can go 5/8, 3/4, whatever you want to do. But know, what I'm going to let you know, that the wider the tips, the slower the bow is going to shoot, because you've got more material up there Takes a lot more energy to throw it, throw the arrow and the bend to bend it and come back. Tips are lined out. So now, for our handle section, I like to make the tips about an inch wide. Or not the tips, sorry, the handle about an inch wide. That's a standard. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you actually try this, you'll see an inch wide handle works just perfect. So find out where the top and bottom part of your handle is. Half inch on either side. So there's your 1 inch handle. Now, from your handle to your fades is going to be the width of the bow. Right, so you want it to taper out a little bit. So this one I think I'll make 1.5 inches wide. So middle, 3/4 inch, either side, out to the fade again. So there, you got that measured out. Now, like I said, from the what I said earlier, the tips are going to thin this part, and it's going to widen out to the width of the bow I want. So this one, I'm going to measure the middle of the limb. So from the limb tip down to the fade, it's 32.5 inches. So this one's going to be 16.25 is mid limb for this one. Mid limb for this one is 31.5, 15.75. So I'll make another quick mark here. I want this to be 1.5 inches in total. So most of the bow is, measurements are done. It's pretty much laid out. Now you just got to connect all the dots you need. So limb tip, on the mid limb. This is the easy part. The hardest part is removing all this wood. Which, like I said, I'll show in the next video because I already have a bow laid out. And I'll be using that for the whole entire series. It's a self bow. It's made out of a log. It's split into smaller pieces. It's called a stave, that's what you call it. But really, make it simple, the log is split into pieces. Okay. Now my fades. My handle. Like I was saying, if you're going to start making a bow, boards are the easiest. You don't have to worry about moisture content because when you're making a self bow out of a log or a stave, 8 to 12% is the moisture content you should have. A lot of these boards are kiln dried. They might be a little too dried, but really they're dry enough. They'll work. And if you're going to your first bow, probably stick with a low draw weight. If you're going to make one for hunting, board bows can do it, but it gets a little more complicated having to add another piece of wood on for strength or other material like rawhide or sinew. So I'd suggest I would stick with 35 pound bow, which again I'll get into later on in the series. I'll get into actually tillering and coming to the draw weight you want. But for now, this one, just a layout. There. That is a bow laid out. So 1.5 inches wide, which is sufficient enough to make a nice bow. 1/2 inch tips. So now, well, I'll just quickly touch about the handle. So because this is just a thin piece of wood, it's not a lot to hold on to once you reduce the wood. So, cut another piece of wood, probably hardwood or whatever, and just glue it on. That's all. It will probably take a day for it to glue on. It'll slow down the process a bit, but that's okay. Don't be in a hurry when you're making a bow, because you'll make too many mistakes. So if we know we got a 4-inch handle, the fade's are 2 inches from that 8-inch piece of wood. So I'll just quickly clamp this on. These cheap clamps work just fine as any expensive one. Pick these up at a local, well, I don't know, cheap hardware store. It's got everything in it. Store got everything. It's called Princess Auto. If you have one, go to it. They got everything there you could possibly need. And if you need something and they don't have it, you probably don't need it. So I think these are just $5 clamps. Works perfect. So anyway, back to why I marked the handle out. When I was marking the handle out, I put the marks down the side. We're going to transfer those to here. So there's the end. So we'll keep that line down there. That one down there. So I know this is my handle. These are my fades. So when it comes to measuring the thickness from this is the back of the, I don't understand why, but the part that faces everybody is called the back of the bow. And the part that's facing you is the belly. Don't know off the top of my head why, but that's how it is. So we're going to measure from the back of the bow. I got the fades. I'm going to measure 5/8 of an inch. Right, so when we're reducing the wood to get it to bend properly, 5/8 of an inch here. Down at the end, at the tips, I'm going to make it 3/8. And then at mid limb, I'll just somewhat eyeball it up here. We're going to make it 1/2 inch. Now I use these measurements because it's simple. Very simple. 5/8, 1/2, 3/8. Very easy taper, right? It's going to be hard to mess this up. Now this is a good starting point. It seems like no matter what draw weight I make, when I measure this out, I'm still way above it, but I'm definitely not below it. I didn't take off too much. So say if I want to make a 50-pound draw weight of a bow, 50 pounds at 28 inches or 27 inches or anything like that, I have no worries. I am definitely not going to be removing too much wood so that I'm adding wood or concerned that I'm not going to make it. So I'm only going to show you how to do this on one side. So there you go. 5/8, 1/2 at mid limb, 3/8 at the tip. Simple. Now, take my calibrated bucket top. So to get a gradual angle going from your handle through your fades, like I said, fades into there. You don't want it too abrupt, so you're putting a lot of stress on your limb or stress on your handle, right? Because if you're gluing on this second part and you're putting a lot of stress right here, it's probably going to pop the glue. There's a chance of it. You don't really need that happening. So I use this big 5-gallon bucket lid Now line up the lid right at the 5/8 mark and right to where the handle mark is. And there you go. That's your angle. Right? Like I did right here. Pretty easy. So that's pretty much it for this video. As you can see, it's pretty simple. It's not hard to lay out a bow. Very, very easy. And it didn't take me no more than 15 minutes. Right on. So if you're interested in seeing any more videos from me here at Island Man Bows, like, subscribe. I'm going to try to put out videos every 2 weeks if I can. That way, by the end of the summer, you'll be able to see the whole bow, or you'll be able to follow along and build a bow come fall time when the weather's getting worse and you want to do something inside. Anyway, take it easy. Have a good day. See you in the next video.